In this video, you'll learn about the prophetic language or prophecy style of writing in the Bible, which books have it, and some guidelines for how to understand it. Prophetic language or prophecy is full of symbolism and very colorful and sometimes very graphic language. But there are actually two types of prophecy in the Bible. The first type of prophecy is the Word of God communicated in general, particularly the writings of the Bible. That's what Peter means in 2 Peter 1:20 when he says that no prophecy of the Scriptures of any private interpretation. The Bible is God's words, inspired by God the Holy Spirit, so we can't just decide on our own that the Bible means something different than what it actually says, especially in the literal and historical portions. That's how so many inaccurate interpretations, false teachings, and even heresies are born. The second type of prophecy in the Bible is the spectacular prophecy, the real attention getters. These are the ones we usually mean when we talk about prophecy. Spectacular prophecies can be of the present, like when Nathan told David in 2 Samuel chapter 7, "You are the man who committed adultery with Bathsheba and had her husband Uriah murdered." Or it can be about the future, like the end times, the last days, or the beast, the Antichrist of Revelation, whom we've all heard about. There are two kinds of spectacular, attention-getting prophecies. There's literal prophecy and symbolic prophecy. Literal prophecy is like Elijah and the widow of Zarephath in 1 Kings chapter 17, where God made a small vial of oil and a handful of flour feed Elijah, the widow, and her son through a years-long famine. Symbolic prophecy is like the beast of Daniel chapter 9 or the beast of Revelation 13. There's no seven-headed monster coming out of the ocean like a science fiction movie, like Godzilla if you've seen that movie. That seven-headed beast is a symbol for something else, in this case nations and a satanic ruler. I'll explain more about that in my End Times and Last Days videos coming up, so please subscribe. There's occasional symbolic prophecy in the historical books of the Bible, but almost all of the symbolic prophecy in the Old Testament is in the prophets from Isaiah through Malachi in the Protestant Bibles. In the New Testament, there's almost no symbolic prophecy, except in the book of Revelation. That is because the New Testament plainly and clearly explains what the Old Testament shows in symbols and types. The Old Testament conceals, the New Testament reveals, is how it's often said in Bible-believing churches. To understand symbolic prophecy, break it into three parts: characters, actions, and events. The characters are always symbols that represent something else or someone else. In Revelation 13:1, the seven-headed beast represents nations, and its 10 horns represent rulers. Actions in symbolic prophecy are usually literal. So in Revelation 13:6, where the Antichrist opens his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those that dwell in heaven, that's what it means. That's what Antiochus IV did, and what the final Antichrist literally will do. We see people that are little Antichrists in positions of power doing that today, so we can see how that can happen. Events in symbolic prophecy can be literal or symbolic or both. Ezekiel chapter 28, 11-19 describes the pride of Ethbaal or Ithabal, the then ruler of Tyrus or Tyre, a city in southern Lebanon. It also matches with things Jesus in Revelation say about the fall of Satan from heaven. Some of the prophetic language in the prophets is simple and easy to understand, like Isaiah chapter 11 that talks about the future of the redeemed, where there will be no pain, no hurt, nor sorrow, no crying, and no animals and plants will hurt us. Or like Ezekiel chapter 8, which takes Ezekiel behind the scenes to show him some of the abominations that are going on in Israel, including among the priests. That's unfortunately what's happening in some churches today, and including among some preachers. Also, prophecies can have layers of meaning or layers of fulfillment. For example, in Daniel chapters 9-11, written around 535 BC, Daniel talks about the abomination of desolation that would profane the temple in Jerusalem. In 168 BC, Antiochus IV Epiphanes polluted the temple by sacrificing swine on the altar, which was an abomination according to God's Old Testament law. So many Jews believed that Antiochus was the fulfillment of the prophecy. But Jesus said in Matthew 24:15 that the abomination of desolation was yet to come. About 35 years after Jesus rose from the dead and ascended to heaven, Titus the emperor destroyed Jerusalem, and he defiled the temple and the altar. So many early Christians thought Titus was the abomination of desolation. Then 20 years later, in 90 AD, God inspired John the Apostle to write the book of Revelation, which said that the beast of Revelation is yet to come. More on that in future videos, so please subscribe. These symbolic prophecies in the Bible are some of the most difficult and challenging parts of the Bible to understand clearly. But be encouraged, because they are difficult and hard for everyone, not just you. No matter how much we know about the Bible, there are many or most of these passages that are difficult for all of us. So be encouraged. Be encouraged. In my next video, I'll explain observational language, also called phenomenological language, which describes the world as the ancient Hebrews saw it. So please share this video and watch this other video to help you understand the Bible even better.